Hello and welcome to today's review of the Transformers 2007 movie Real Gear Robots Power Up VT6. Now, Power Up has appeared in several of the reviews during the size comparison segment so far, and I gotta say I do like this alt mode. It is really cool. Pushable buttons. Now, if the leg on this side was transformed properly, the section here, let's just push it through. There you go. Let's just kind of backtrack so we can get back to this. So tab that in fully, and now this pushes in, which is really cool. That's the only thing that I really have to say about this alt mode. I really like it, but these buttons, specifically the D-pad on the left, could get a bit stuck sometimes. So what you have to do is just untransform the leg, just kind of pull it out, and then push this piece back through from the other side, and that way it kind of unlodges it and goes back being pushable. All the buttons are pushable, but they're on like the same kind of they're on the same pad, so when you push one they all go down. But it's really cool, and you've got this little screenshot of what looks like an 07 beat 'em up game. We never got one like in real life or whatever, but it's a cool little idea. It's Timer, Barricade, Optimus Prime. Beautiful stuff. It's just a sticker that's over the front of it. Some of the other ones do have stickers. I have pointed them out before. Like, say we have Speed Doll here. He's got the sticker on the front. Sticker for the phone screen, things like that. But it's not the most common thing amongst these figures. As far as, from what I can think of, only 2 of the other figures in this line also have stickers. So it's only half of them, which is alright. I'm not against them, because when they're being used like this, they're actually adding to the aesthetic appeal of the toy, it kind of serves a purpose. It's given this a game screen, for instance, which is really cool. And if we turn to the back, it's just plain stuff, screws and whatnot everywhere, but I'm not bothered about any of this. It's just generally a really cool design. So from here, we're just going to go straight into our size comparison. So for the Power Up VT6 size comparison, here we have Longview, Midnighter XR4, Speed Dial 800, Ralph, Steve. And generally, I'm really happy with the size comparison between these 4 gadgets here. Now, we haven't showed off Midnighter before, but I think he's cool. It was the very first mold that I got. I do have the dark blue variant of this. That will be reviewed when I review this, because no sense in doing 2 separate reviews for 2 toys that are essentially the same besides color. But yeah, so this is the first one I handled of the set. He's quite cool. He's not the worst, not the best. He does some things better than a couple of these bots, and most things are just solid, across the board. But the main point of discussion here being Power Up, he is, like I said before, I really like the alt mode, but it has its issues. Not specifically the alt mode, but the toy itself has its issues, and that's what we're going to get into after the transformation. So yeah, moving on from here, we're just going to go straight into our transformation. So for Power Up's robot mode, here we just have this chonky fella. He comes out a bit due to how the legs work, but he's got heels, so he's very stable. Arguably, he might be the stablest of the whole set, which is cool, I guess. I have no worries about him really falling over. Head, however, something to really point out with this is I don't like how the head doesn't come up any further, which does kind of suck. But oh well. And yeah, that's really it. It doesn't really do anything else, so yeah, oh well. let's just move straight onto our robot mode size comparison. Editor me here. Now, I have found a way to get the head out properly. I just kind of had to fiddle with the arms a bit more. Now, it's the first time I've ever managed to get the head to come out properly, and I've had to have transformed this thing 5 or 6 times since getting him. But yeah, you know, it definitely is going to add to the articulation segment, because now we'll actually be able to move his head. But man, that was a bit of work. And back to your scheduled programming. So for the robot mode size comparison, here we have 2007 movie Voyager Ironhide, 2007 movie Deluxe Longarm, 2007 movie Legends Bumblebee, Ralph, Steve. Now, robot mode size comparisons, much like all of the other Real Gear robots so far, this is, I believe, the 5th one. I'm all good with how this kind of looks with everything else. You know, it's your nice intermediate point between your Legends and your Deluxes, well under the Voyager size class, which perfectly fine, you know. Like I've said before, I imagine these guys to be kind of little kind of covert ops and things like that amongst normal, like in universe, you know. They're expected to be smaller than the average bot, being your Deluxe, so I'm perfectly okay with this. For the minifigures as well, definitely cool with this one. Power Up is a bit taller than the average guy, like from this Real Gear line. Now, comparative to Swindle, he's at I believe Power Up is, as you can see, he's almost up there. It's out of shot, apologies. But I believe this is taller than Spy Shot, who was the last person we reviewed, or last figure, whatever. You know, it's kind of interchangeable at this point. He might be the tallest of the bunch. We'll have to see. The only one that might be taller is the Watch mold, either Meantime or Midnighter, whichever one. But yeah, might be the tallest of the bunch. Can't say it amounts to much though. Let's just move straight on to articulation. So, articulation for Power Up is as follows. At the shoulder, weirdly enough, despite how this whole kind of assembly on the inside of the torso works, it's a bit dark in there, but yeah, apologies that you can't see that very well. There you go, turn it at an angle. There's some gear stuff going on the bottom side. It's a bit similar on the top, but I can't make it show up on camera. Maybe if we put the flash on, that'll work. There you go. So despite how this whole inner assembly works, he does still have functioning shoulders, which is really cool. I'm definitely all for it. It's smart engineering. I mean, all of these figures from the Real Gear line have smart engineering to a degree. And yeah, so shoulders pull a full 360. They go slightly upwards at the shoulder section. The joint where the bicep kind of is represented, here you go, it goes that far up. Kind of bring it back in. Get a swivel at the elbow ball. Like, as you know, every ball joint can be a swivel. Elbows, you know, they're weirdly oriented with how the hands work. So the hands are like this, but the elbows are actually the opposite way. This is a thing that loads of old Transformers do. I think I've got a couple in my collection other than this guy. And they're bigger, so it's more offensive in a way. Like, but they couldn't even solve the problem, make the figure, I guess, properly posable. But whatever, you know. So the elbow pulls no more than a 90, which is sad. Hand comes inwards, I guess. You know, it's kind of for transformation purposes, but it's hinged or whatever. You know, it's not pinned like these sections on the arm. But oh well. No waist, given the nature of the transformation and the fact that the legs come together from the sides. Legs kick up this much, kick back this much. Thigh swivel all the way around. Knees pull a 90. Knees do a backwards 90. And that's really it for the legs. And then go up to the head. Now it's just on a little peg, so it'll just spin around like so. Head reminds me a bit of a luchador mask. You know, it only just kind of came to mind. Just kind of how there's like a cutout section for the mouth and stuff. And yeah, those masks very commonly could have like stripes running down the center, bit like from the top of the head down towards maybe where the nose is. Yeah, it's just a funky head design. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's cool. That's really it, and sometimes you can't get any better than just being cool. So generally, articulation on this is kind of it's it's fine, I guess. We'll definitely have to critique it during my final thoughts. So let's just move on. So for my final thoughts on Power Up VT6, man, I like the robot mode a little bit. It's grey, black, and purple isn't the most crazy color scheme or anything, and the green on the head, it's there, but it just kind of this guy just feels a bit bland, especially in this robot mode. I do quite enjoy the handheld gaming device mode. During editing, I'm gonna put a little insert here. I'm gonna figure out what the hell it's based off of, right? Because surely it's something out there. And yeah, just rankings on this guy. Aesthetics are a 3.5 out of 5. You've got a really good alt mode, and the robot mode is just very average, So instead of giving him the kind of middle of the road score across the board for that aesthetic mark, he's getting the extra half point just for the fact that the alt mode is actually good. And I didn't feel happy putting him any higher because of the robot mode just being what it is. It's whatever. Even the hands, they're definitely a contributing factor. They're not much to look at, and they don't do anything. They're just clippy things. You can't make use of these, so it kind of sucks. Transformation on this guy is a 3 out of 5. It's smart. Is it as smart as some of the others? Hell no. Alright, it's very middle of the road for something of this size class, in my opinion. There's nothing special about it, but nothing actually bad. It just kind of exists. So he gets the 3 on that. Articulation on this guy. Man, I'm impressed that the shoulders still work. But that's it, really. I have nothing else to add about the articulation. At least it articulates, right? But it's not your middle of the road articulation for a smaller transformer. Like all of the other real gears so far articulate better than this. He's just kind of whatever. He just gets a 2 purely because he is just whatever when it comes to how everything moves. And the only thing I'm impressed about is those shoulders. Lastly, value for money on this guy. Now, despite all of the critiquing so far, the average robot mode, the transformation being your middle of the road experience, and the articulation kind of being lackluster for what he is, comparative to all of his line mates, I still put him at a 4 out of 5 on value for money. And really that comes down to the alt mode and the fact that it's still a fully functional transformer. And I've mentioned this before, but transformers at the time were aimed at children. Children aren't going to be as picky about how the robot moves comparative to us collectors, right? So I'm definitely all for it. If this is a £7 kids toy, so be it. I think it's a solid £7 kids toy at that point. So yeah, I'm not going to kind of rain on this guy's parade anymore. He is solid. He's just the weakest of the 5 so far. This has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.